Fears can be really life derailing. But no matter what we're afraid of, no matter what we face, no matter what happens in our life, God has us in the palm of his hand. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about letting God chase away all of our fears and resting in him. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Coloring Through the Bible. My name is Keegan Harkins, and my family and I just got back from a vacation. We took a cruise down to Mexico, which was crazy. We left the wildfires of Montana and the horrible bad air quality that we have up here and chased running headfirst into Hurricane Harvey. We were hoping to get to New Orleans before it did, which was absolutely insane. But that's where our cruise was going out of, was New Orleans. So we ended up getting there right as the storm, because it wasn't a hurricane anymore. It had been downgraded to a tropical storm. But it was so much rain that I had ever seen. It was crazy. And then we kind of sailed around the storm and went to Mexico. And we took this amazing excursion where we had this long bus ride where we got this lecture on Mayan life and history, and then we hiked through a jungle and ended up at a Mayan village and had a traditional Mayan lunch and got to kind of experience how they lived for a while, and then trekked on back home. And it was really fun, but it combined like all my fears in one day. We got back to the cruise ship and my husband just gave me a hug and kissed my forehead. He goes, "I'm really proud of you." And I'm like, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you faced every single one of your fears in one day." And it's true, I did, and it was terrifying. But you're going to laugh at me because I have incredibly irrational fears. So the first thing is we are trekking through this jungle. And that probably should have been scary because the guide said, there are panthers, there are wild boar, and if you see me run. Don't ask questions, just run. And I'm thinking, that probably doesn't sound real good. I'm not a hugely athletic person. I'm looking around at the other people in our tour group going, yeah, I'm going to make a pretty tasty snack for something. But I really wasn't scared about that. I thought, God's going to protect me. He's going to protect my children. It's all good. We keep going. We get to this sinkhole that's filled with water. They call it a cenote. And it's a wonderful place to go swimming. And it is so hot. It is so humid. And we're not used to it because we come from a very dry place. And so we are just sweating and hot, and that water looks so completely refreshing. But it is filled with fish, like 3-inch long little fish. No big deal, everybody else is just swimming in it. Well, I have this completely irrational fear of fish. It is totally a stupid fear. We go swimming in the lake, and I won't go in if there's fish that are near the edge. I don't know, it's stupid. I know they're little tiny fish. They can't possibly hurt me, but I'm just scared of them. And my kids keep pointing it out. "Mom, there's fish right there. Mom, there's fish right there." And my husband's like, "You're swimming in fish." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm just trying to get through this. It's hot, it's muggy, I want to swim." And I'm just like, shoo fish, go away. So that was a huge fear for me, but it had nothing to compare with what was in store for me. The next place we go to is a zip line, and there's 3 zip lines. And it's a shorter one, and then a longer one, and then a really long one. And my youngest son, he's a complete daredevil. He is first in line. He just jumps up there. They strap him in. He doesn't weigh enough to go down. So they have to pull him back and chuck him to give him enough force to make it across this giant hole. And all of a sudden, I didn't realize how much that was this horrible fear. I just wanted to scream and cry all at once. My husband's patting my head. He's fine. And I'm yelling, "I love you," as he's flying down off this cliff, because it's just watching somebody chuck your child off a cliff. It was more than I could handle. I didn't even know that was going to be so terrifying. And I don't even remember my oldest son going down. I was in such shock that they threw my baby down. He went, my husband went, and I'm like, oh, it's my turn. I'm the last one. They hook me on, and you're dangling there, and I can't touch because I'm short, and they had to kind of jump so that they could hook me on there because I was too short. So I'm dangling over the edge of nothing. And it's just a drop underneath me. And all of a sudden this irrational fear comes up, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I looked at the guy who strapped me in, and he doesn't speak English. He only speaks Mayan. And he's like just shaking his head, smiling like, go. And I'm like, no, I can't go. So I look for my guide. He's standing there, and I'm like, I changed my mind. I'm going to stay. I'm going to watch. It's really okay. Don't be offended. I'm just not going to go. And he starts laughing. And then I'm like, don't laugh at me. I'm really scared. I'm like, I don't want to go. And he just pushes me. He just pushes me off the cliff. And I'm just flying through the air, terrified, crying out to God because I just knew I was going to die. I just was so terrified. And then once you start, now I have 2 more that I have to do to get back, or I'm stranded in the middle of the jungle. And the second one, I kind of noticed the trees, actually I noticed that I was going to run into the trees, because your feet are hitting the tops of the trees of the jungle, but I was praying the whole way. And then the last one, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe this is a little bit fun, but it was still scary. And I tell you this incredibly long story so that you can laugh at me, because my entire family laughed at me. The guides laughed at me. I'm pretty sure they were all talking about me in Mayan the whole rest of the time, that I was such a silly goose. I was so scared of everything. But I told you that story because our fears, even if they're silly, even if it's a 3-inch long fish or you're totally strapped in and safe in a body harness, fear is a real thing. Even if it's irrational to the person who's standing next to you, when you're in the grips of it, it's real to you. And God promises us that whether our fears are substantial, like all the people that are facing these hurricanes that have been pounding us, or the wildfires that are destroying everything, or you've got a health crisis, or a financial crisis, or a relationship that is on the rocks, the fears that we face, God has an answer to. God is the answer to our fears. And His Word promises us that He's the answer to our fears. And I love Psalms 34. It's one of my favorite Psalms. And I wanted to kind of share some snippets from it. Psalms 34:4 says, I sought the Lord, and He answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. He's the one who can take our fears away from us. He's the one that can give us peace when our hearts, our mind, our emotions, our everything is stuck in the grips of fear. He's the one that says, you know what, I don't care if you're jumping off a cliff. I've got you in the palm of my hand. Nothing in this life is going to happen to you unless I decree it. That's what God says. God says that He is the ultimate, that He's the one who can heal us. He's the one that can deliver us. He's the one that has bad and good times come into our life. It's all in His control. This is the reason why I love Psalms 34 so much. Verse 7 says, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him, and He delivers them. When we make God our most important thing in our life, He delivers us. He surrounds us. He protects us. Verse 18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. I just would really encourage you to read Psalms 34. It's such a blessing. Verse 19, a righteous man may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. That right there, that's the culmination of all of my fears. We're going to have troubles in this life. But God is the deliverance from them. God is the one who can give us peace in the scariest times of our life. He doesn't promise that we won't go through. Obviously, David is writing this. He went through some really bad stuff. He wrote this when he was living in the land of the Philistines. He was captured by the Philistines, and he pretended to be insane in order to escape being murdered by his enemies. And he's saying that, I'm going to grow weak, but you're going to be strong. You protect me even when I'm scared. I mean, do you think David was scared when he was surrounded by his enemies and they were going to kill him? Heck yeah. I mean, he had more of a right to be scared than I did of these tiny little minnows that couldn't have hurt me even if they wanted to. But we all have fears. That's a part of life. But God is the answer to every single fear that we have. So I just wanted to encourage you today, go ahead and laugh at my silly stories, but remember that no matter what you're facing, God's the answer to our fear. God is the one that can give us peace and boldness and strength to keep going. And if we keep our eyes on Him, then what we're going through won't be so scary. Because we're going to remind ourselves that nothing happens that God is unaware of. And nothing happens that God isn't in control of. So if you're scared about something today, I just want to encourage you to give it to God. Run to Him, and He will help you. Until we see each other again, have a truly blessed day.